Hello everyone, this is John Galt speaking, here with a live stream video for you guys. Haven't done one since, what, February something another, February 10th, somewhere around in there. And I figured I would do a live stream, talk a little bit about what I've been up to, what my plans are for the future, and answer some questions that I've gotten from some of the products that I sell on the UE4 marketplace, UE5 marketplace. Maybe some of the questions I've gotten from my Udemy course that's currently available. And we go to the Unreal Engine forums and kind of poke around, look through some of the topics, see what's going on there, give a little commentary. Sometimes we go into the engine, screw around for a little bit, and just general shooting the breeze, hanging out. And I never plan these streams. I used to do these a whole lot more often than I do now. You know, that's because real life happens, and you know, I ain't quite as dedicated as I once was to this for a lot of different reasons. Let me get me a drink here. Okay. All right, so I guess maybe the first thing that I'll talk about is I had mentioned in some of the previous live streams that I have done that I was going to do another Udemy course that is specifically in Unreal Engine 5, because the one that I currently have on there, even though it's still pertinent to Unreal Engine 5, meaning anything that you do in that series, it still works in Unreal Engine 5 just the same. But there's been a lot of people that have requested me to, well, they really wanted me to redo the tutorial series that's on Udemy, except do it in Unreal Engine 5. And I really didn't see the point of doing that, since everything is still relevant. You know, I don't particularly like Unreal Engine 5 for a lot of different reasons that I've talked about a lot in the past. So I thought I'd just do a new one and approach it a little bit differently than I have in the past. And so the update for that is that is still the plan. So I've already made a bunch of videos for it. I have currently 15 videos made for that series. And I don't know exactly how many there's going to be in toto. I'm guessing probably 20. I don't want it to be as long as the other one, because one of the complaints that I have gotten from that, let me just show you guys the course that I'm referring to, actually. That would be helpful. Let's see, how do we even find this stuff? I don't know. Who runs this stuff? Who even runs this YouTube stuff for me? Nobody. I do it. So yeah, if we go here, and I'll go ahead and drop a link for this in chat for those of you who don't have the link. So this is a course that I did quite some time ago now. I don't remember exactly when I put this course up, but it's been quite a while ago. And this thing is 44 hours long. And one of the, like I said, one of the complaints was that it was just too damn long. 44 hours is a long time. Okay. And it really is. But there is a ton of very valuable information contained in this course. And once again, even though this was made in Unreal Engine 4, it is completely relevant, and everything that was discussed, talked about, and learned in this course still works in Unreal Engine 5 perfectly fine. Okay? So that's the course that I'm referring to. And once again, I don't remember when I did this. But the goal with this new course that I'm doing is to keep it shorter. Okay? So if this is 44 hours, maybe half the size of this, okay, And so that's what I'm doing. And I've already got, like I said, 15 videos made for this course. Let's just see how long it is. I don't even know yet. Okay. God, why does everything have to spam you? Everywhere you go on the internet anymore, you get spammed by something. Even this shit right here. Every day I come log in here, this annoys the shit out of me. So there's that. Okay, so I've already started posting these videos for this new course. And I haven't done the introduction yet. I don't know. They'll probably be the first couple videos I'll just leave free so that you can kind of get an idea of, you know, how I quote unquote teach. So as you can see, even with those videos, there's already almost 14 hours in this course already. Okay. The main difference between this course and that other course is the other course is for first person, using 3 meshes, not sticking a camera on the head of a character like everybody loves to do, which works like shit. It's using 3 meshes, the proper way to make a first person game. This one is specifically for third person, right? So there ain't no first person stuff. And it's far less complicated, actually, to do that. So once again, already, it's 14 hours already. And if I want it to be roughly half the size of that other one, I'm running out of room. Okay. You know, so we'll have to see how that works out. And once again, I've already got 15. What did I say? I've already got 15 of the videos made and uploaded. So I guess maybe 5 more videos, and then I got to put some screenshots on and fill out some descriptions and all that crap, and it'll be ready to go. Okay. So for those that were asking, it's in the works. It just ain't quite ready just yet, but it will be, hopefully. My goal is to have this ready by the end of March, and here we are on the 26th already, so it ain't looking good, but that was my goal, to have this done and ready to be purchased by then. But that may or may not happen. We'll have to see. Okay. And also, I would like to say I appreciate everyone who sent condolences for the passing of my mother. She passed away February the 3rd. So that's still kind of raw, by the way. So thank you for everyone who sent your condolences. I appreciate that very much. And yeah, that's a hard thing to get over. It really is. And I'm working on it. It ain't an easy thing to do. It really ain't, but I'm working on it. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for everyone who sent me birthday wishes too, by the way. I had a birthday March the 19th. I am now officially 48 years old. Holy crap, I'm old. And I feel every bit of it too, by the way, if anybody's curious. Oh yes, I feel 48, definitely. And also, those of you who have sent donations and or contributions to my PayPal, thank you guys very much for that. I do still accept those, even though, you know, it's down to where I get, you know, $8 a month, maybe $10 a month. But I do appreciate those people who still take the time to click that link on my YouTube page. Sorry about, you know, not making videos as much, but, you know, I've been going through some stuff here, and I'm not trying to pity push you guys either. Everybody goes through stuff, but I've been having a lot of trouble. Most of you know I was the primary caregiver for my mother, meaning I made sure she was taken care of, had everything she needed, made sure she got to doctor's appointments, all that stuff. On top of that, my younger brother lived with my mother, and he's got issues too, and he's disabled. So I've been his kind of his primary caregiver. My mom was his primary caregiver, and then when she got sicker, I became her primary caregiver, which means she couldn't be his primary caregiver, so I kind of got both of them. And so, yeah, it's been complicated around here. Isn't everything? Life is complicated. But so thank you for those who have sent contributions. And for those of you who don't know, on my YouTube page, this little My PayPal link here, it's open all the time. I constantly accept donations, $5, $2, whatever. You know, if you find something on my YouTube page, which even though, you know, I do make a lot of paid content like those Udemy courses and those products I sell on the UE4 /5 marketplace, I still accept contributions. And besides that, there's actually a lot of content that is 100% free on my YouTube page. And, you know, every now and then people find something, they're like, holy crap, I would have never knew how to do this if you hadn't have talked about it, discussed it, or did a demonstration on it. So if you guys haven't, and you're looking for things, just because they're called, you know, Q&A, forum surfing, random stuff, you know, there's still a lot of information in there. Okay. So I know that's a pretty crappy way of naming things, but yeah, you should watch them, because you may not be, aware of what you can learn. Okay. And maybe, you know, one of these days, maybe I'll get back to doing live streams more than I do now, but, you know, we'll have to see. Okay. All right. So I got a question the other day on one of the products, my TPS Basic that I sell on the UE5 marketplace. Somebody was curious about the whole thing that I added when I did the update for Unreal Engine 5. So when Unreal Engine 5 came out, I had to go through all the products that I sell, and I had to do updates on a lot of the products to make them compliant with Unreal Engine 5. And in this multiplayer TPS, one of the things that I did, a whole bunch of people are already having problems with it, and they wish that I hadn't have done it. And, you know, I can't necessarily say that I blame them, because I wish I hadn't have done it, but I had to do it because that is what Epic required us to do, right? So just so you guys know, anything that gets submitted to the UE5 marketplace, it has to go through an extensive review process before it's ever allowed to be put on their marketplace for sale. You can't just make something and submit it and then, hey, look at all this money I'm making. When you submit it, someone or someone's at Unreal goes through your stuff, and then they send you back a list of all the crap they want you to change and to do differently, or things they want you to add, because that's just what they do. Okay. So one of the things that I did and added was they wanted it to have the new skeleton implemented. Okay. And so if we open up one of these maps here, I don't want to go through the menu, but we're going to open this map and I'll show you guys what I did. Okay. So one of the things they wanted was the new skeleton, right? So this new mannequin. And since I had to implement the new skeleton, they only required you to use the male. But since they wanted me to do that, I went ahead and put the female in too. And I added a button press where you can press the simple G key and you can change between the male and the female character live on the fly. See that? So you'll also notice that the male is blue and the female is pink. Okay. So that was one of the things that I changed. Another thing that I did was these enemy characters, these enemy combatants. Since I had to use the new skeletons, I figured, okay, so now we've got male and female enemy combatants, and the females are yellow and the males are red, to basically indicate that, okay, so here's this. Another thing that I did was randomize it. So when you start the level, if you will, it randomizes male and female characters. Okay. Well, a lot of people don't like that. And the reason they don't like that is because some of the logic that was added interferes with you adding your own meshes, right? So say, for example, you want to get rid of these default characters and you actually want to put some enemy meshes that you have in. Well, it screws with the color and it screws with the mesh, right? And so one of the questions I got was, how do you undo that? Okay, so that's what I want to show in this video. I already explained to the person that asked how to do it, and he was having trouble with it, even still having trouble with it. So I just want to show you guys where that is at. So if you go in this characters folder in the blueprints and you open up the BP enemy master, okay, inside here there is this thing called a construction script. Okay, so if you double click that and open it, this is what is randomizing the male and the female characters, right? So you can see that we are setting the skinned asset and update, and we're also putting on the material. So if it's and we're randomizing it. So you see we're getting a random bull and we're setting the is female. And if it is female, we're making sure that it's using the female mesh, and we're also putting on that yellow material, right? So those characters have two elements on them. One's for the upper body and one's for the, I don't remember, but it's got two. And then of course, if it's a male, we're putting the male mesh in, and we are putting on the red male material. So if you want to undo that, okay, all you have to do is bypass this, right? So you want to come out of the construction script here, bypass every single bit of that except the very last thing, this. You want to keep that, but everything else you can get rid of, okay? And then you just recompile it and save it. But even doing that, that's still not the end of the equation. So if we spawn back in here and we come back up here, you're going to see that we still have yellow female characters and red male characters. Okay, still. So, I'm going to load up the map here. So let me select this, right click, and we will say load region. And let's just load the map up here so that we can get in here and I can show you guys this. So the reason for that is every one of these characters have editable settings, right? So when you select one of these characters in the level and you come over here to details, you will see that you can change the mesh of the character here. And you can also, you know, alter the movement speeds and all that stuff. But beyond all that, if you come down here, you can see that you can change the mesh here and you can change the materials. Well, if you don't want these yellow materials, well, then you have to pick a new material, right? So if we put the pink on, you can see there's two. So that changed part of it. See? And then if you change this one also to the pink, now you have the default character. Okay? The default female character. If you want to change it from a female to a male, you actually have to select the mesh and put in the male character. Now you can see by doing that, now his material screwed up. So you have to come over here and you put on the male material, which would be the Manny. And if you want him default, you would put the red on. And then you would put the red on number 2. And voila, there you go. Okay, so that's how you have to do it. And that's the reason that I randomized it. It was so I didn't have to come in here and do this for every single damn character. So if you want to change all these characters, that's one way to do it, right? You're going to have to come in here, find every single one of these damn characters here and change them. If you want them to be all male, you're going to have to go find all the females, change the mesh here, and then make sure that it's using the correct material. Another way that you could do this is just delete these characters and put in new ones, right? So how you can do that is if you come over here and do a search for enemy, select every single enemy in this level, right? And they're all called BP enemy master. So you do a search for enemy and it'll bring them all up. And you can see there is a metric ass load of them in here. So if you select every single one of them, delete, okay, then you got to repopulate this with your own enemies, right? So now what does that mean? Well, that means you got to bring in this enemy master here, and you can see that this one's got the default mesh as a female, and it's got the default material on it. Okay, so if you want it to be a male, go ahead and drag it in here and then do the same thing, right? So you change it to the male and see how it puts the correct material on it when you do it this way. Now remember, when you do that, you've also got to set the character up. So if you haven't watched the tutorial videos on my YouTube page for how you get these characters doing things, you need to make sure that you watch that. But just a quick rundown is you drag the character into the level, pick the mesh that you want it to use, make sure it's got the correct material on it, and then you got to set all the default parameters. So you can see the trigger volume radius, see that little ball? That's his tracking area. So you can see it's pretty small. So you would take that and make it as big as you want it to be. Okay. That's his detection range. Then you got to pick his gun, right? So what gun do you want him to have? And then how much health does he have? And is it a female or a male? Well, that's a male. So we leave that unchecked. But if it's a female, you would check that to be true. Okay. And then once you do that, that enemy is now active. That's all you got to do. So now when we come in here, he should be the blue dude and he should have the plasma gun. There he is. See? Okay. All right. So there's the answer to that question. In depth, more specific. Okay. So I tried to explain that in the answer that I replied to him, but you know, maybe it didn't come across exactly clear how you would do it. But there you go. That's 2 ways you can do it. Okay. And be careful with this AI, by the way, because the Unreal Engine 5 is a lot heavier than Unreal Engine 4. And what that means is it's a lot more taxing to run these enemies than it is in Unreal Engine 4. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have to use less enemies. So the default map, I don't know how you all seen how many enemies are on it. That's almost too many. So don't go in here and think you're going to add 7,000 damn enemies in here and play this thing, because it's going to run like a turtle if you do. Okay. So you have to use these enemies sparingly. Especially in Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 4, it runs a lot better. Okay. All right. So there's the answer to that question. And no, I don't need to save that. And I also need to delete that. So let me go in here and delete it. Oh, voila. All right, so there's that. It's never a simple answer, is it? Hey, how do you do this? Well, let me take 2 hours and explain it to you. Okay. Empty the recycle bin. Okay, so I guess now we can go to the forums. Okay. This is what this stream is. We just do some random crap. I answer some random questions and just hang out for a little while, see if anybody shows up or anything. So we're going to go into programming and scripting into the multiplayer side because that is generally all I do is the multiplayer. And yeah, I'll just kind of look through these topics here and see if there's any that I want to talk about. Let's see here. There's a respawn. I've covered that. Let's see. I'm reading. Um, I'm not really seeing anything in here that I want to talk about. I usually never do, actually. Not seeing anything. I mean, there's a lot of topics in here, but it's not anything that I just want to chat about. No, guys, I just really don't see anything that I want to rattle about today. Why rep notifies function is got called on server as well? Because the server is the one that has to change the variable. I'm pretty sure that a rep notify works like a multicast. Okay, I'm pretty sure, and maybe we'll go take a look at that, because why not, right? I mean, part of this stuff, guys, is experimentation. A lot of you guys that have watched my channel for a long time, you know, right? You guys know how I went about teaching myself how to do this. By the way, I did. I taught myself everything that I know how to do in here. I didn't learn it out of some book. I didn't learn it from a tutor. I literally trial and errored that shit myself. Okay. And during the process of doing that, I learned some pretty cool tactics and strategies on how to see. Let me go ahead and just create a default third-person template here. There's a difference between clicking the same buttons that somebody else is clicking, following a tutorial, and knowing why he clicked them. Well, I'm the kind of guy that likes to get to the root of why does it work this way, but it don't work that way. Okay. And once you do that enough, you start to understand how the background of this engine works, right? And so what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to do a quick little demonstration here of how to answer that guy's question. Okay. So most of you know in multiplayer that the clients don't get to do a whole heap ton of anything. The server always has to do it. Because if the server doesn't do it, well, then it don't get replicated. It's as simple as that. The majority of the things that clients can do has to do with a UI, right? Like the server don't give a damn if the character's UI is doing this or doing that. Now the data that's provided to the UI, yes, the server gives a shit about that. So when I first started learning this multiplayer stuff, I learned a strategy here that has always been very helpful at answering questions. So let me go ahead and set this up for 2 players. So we'll go to 720 by 512. And we'll just go ahead and get this set up for 2 players here so that I can show you guys this little strategy. So we're going to go into as a listen server, and we're going to do 2 players. And we'll do new editor windows. So the server is on the left and the client is on the right. Okay. Okay. So let's diagnosticize for a minute here. And we're going to do it with a simple print string, by the way. Okay. So in this character's blueprint here, we're going to open up this character's blueprint, and on event begin play, we're going to already have one in here. So I'm going to hold down the S key and put a sequence in, and we'll just hook their shit back up out of the N1. And we are going to put ourselves a simple print string here. And let's go ahead and make this stay up for more than 2 seconds. We'll just say 10. And we will compile that and save it. Now, we're going to go back to 1 player for a second here. I've done this before. Some of you guys may have seen this, but I want to do it again because I don't think people realize how important it is to know who did what in multiplayer. And that is literally what makes the whole entire thing work. And if you don't know who did what to who, you're not going to get very far. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back to a standalone, and we're going to go into a single window selected viewport. Now, when I spawn in here in that upper left corner, you can see that it said hello. See that? Simple, straight, to the point. So in single player, it doesn't matter who said what to who. Nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares because it's single player. Nobody cares. Where that changes is when you go to multiplayer. And the way you go to multiplayer, it doesn't matter if it's a listen server, a dedicated server. It doesn't matter. Anytime that you're dealing with multiplayer, it matters who said what. Okay? And the easiest way that you can find out who said what is a simple print string, literally. So we go back to two windows here, and we go into new editor windows. Now you're going to notice that when the server spawns in, it actually says server hello. And then when the client spawned in, it said server hello, and the client said hello, and the client said hello. So at this point, it matters now who said what. Okay, see there? And the reason that it done it twice on the server and twice on the client is because we have two players. Now, if we were to put 4 players on there, it's going to say 4. Okay, so watch this. Voila. See there? So they're all talking. So let's go back to 2. Keep things less complicated. So in multiplayer, it matters who said what. So when the server spawned in, he said hello, and he said hello to the client. When the client spawned in, he said hello to the server, and he said hello to the client. So they're talking to themselves, and they're talking to each other. All right. So every event that's built into this engine, by default, it automatically fires on the server and the client. Automatically. How do we know this? Because we just proved it. Right? So when this event begin play fires, it's saying hello on the server and the client for every character that joins. Okay? So if we are only supposed to let the server run things in a multiplayer, we have to put in a switch has authority. And what this does is, this is a simple filter. And what it does is that these events that fire on the server and the client, by default, we didn't make it do that. It comes from Epic that way. Okay. And we know that in a multiplayer scenario, 99.99999% of the time, the server is the only one that should be running anything. So in order to get that client call to not be able to come in here, you use this switch has authority. That means it's going to come out the remote pin. Any client that tries to do this is going to go out the remote pin, which means it ain't going to do nothing, which is exactly what it should be doing. Nothing. So by putting in that switch has authority, when we spawn in here, now you can see that it only says when the server spawns in, he says hello. When the client spawns in, he asks the server to say hello. See that? So then after that, if we want this to only, if this logic that we're putting in right here, say we're putting in something, if we only want this to happen on the server, we script it right here, and that becomes the end of it. If it's something that needs to happen on the server and the client, there's 2 ways really that you can do that. One is you just bypass this switch has authority and you go straight to here. We already proved that that right there will happen on the server and the client. But the proper way to do it, and the way that I teach people to do it, is we add a custom event. Okay? So we create ourselves a custom event, And we call this multicast do this. And then we set this over here to be multicast. And we have the server call that multicast event right here. Multicast do this. And now what's really hilariously funny is that we are now right back to where we started from when we didn't put this in. Now watch what happens here. When we spawn in, server says hello. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, it was supposed to, but it looks like maybe it didn't. Hold on. Yeah, we do have that set. All right, well, let's try it again. Oh, wow. That is blowing my mind for a minute. Are you telling me that they changed that? Did they really? Surely not. Let's put a delay here. Maybe that's what the problem is. If they change that, that is a really big difference. There it went. So yes, it was a delay problem. You guys remember me telling you, for those of you who constantly give me shit about using the older engine version, like my favorite engine version is Unreal Engine 4.15. For those of you who keep constantly giving me shit saying that the reason I don't like the newer engine versions is because I don't know how to do them. I don't know how to use them. I don't know how they work. They change this, they change that, and you're just trying to stay relevant even though you're not relevant. You guys have no idea how big of dicks people can be. You really have no idea. This is a perfect example of why I hate these new fucking engine versions. Oh no, Unreal Engine 5 is so much better. It's so much prettier. It's so much more efficient. Is it? So let me demonstrate to you guys why these newer engine versions suck. Okay? While I'm on a tangent here. So we're going to take this delay back out again. And we're going to compile it and we're going to save it. And we're going to spawn in here, and this print string is supposed to happen on the server and the client. Okay? But watch what happens here. Where's the client call? Where's the client call? It didn't happen. Now watch this. If we bypass this and we literally go straight back to here, and we compile this and save it, and we spawn in here, watch. Oh, look at that. It happened the way that it should happen. So, to do this the proper way, it should go this way, right? So we filter out the client call. Don't go nowhere. Which means this is coming off the server, and we're telling it to multicast this event right here. But when we try that and we spawn in here, we're still only getting the server. So how do we fix that? Well, it's because this new engine has latency in it that the old engines don't have. So in order to actually get that to work, you have to put a delay here. Now, it don't have to be 2 seconds. It could probably be 0.2. And now we will get what we're supposed to get, right? No, it still only happened on the client one time, right? So no, it still didn't work. So that 0.2 is not enough. So let's try 0.3. Isn't this fun, guys? And then people wonder why people have so much hell trying to get shit to work, right? Watch this. How about now? No, it still only happened one time. All right, so let's just keep creeping it up. Let's go to 0.5 and see if that does it. Nope, still doesn't do it. There's supposed to be two client calls here. So let's go to a full 1 second delay here. How about now? Nope, still didn't do it. So let's go to 2. There it is. Now it did it. Do you guys see that? So, for all those haters out there, oh no, it's you, Galt. It's you. Is it? Is it? No, it ain't. It's this fucking engine. It gets worse with every goddamn engine version they put out. It does. And that proves it. That's part of it right there. All right. So anyway, ranting aside, let's move on here. So let's move away from this and let's actually just go to a button press. How about that? That ought to simplify things. Okay. So we're going to put in a right mouse button and we're going to create a custom event and we're going to call it server do this, and that will be set to run on the server. And we're going to have the client call it here, server do this. And I'll show you guys a little bit more about how I learned how to do all this multicast and this multiplayer shit. Okay. And this will prove my point even more. Okay. So in multiplayer, once again, we already mentioned we need to know who did what to who. So if we don't put this server event in here, so let's go all the way from the beginning. So let's say we made a right mouse button and we wanted it to do something. So if we put it in a multiplayer game just like that, and we spawn in here, when the server clicks the right mouse button, you can see it says server hello. See that? See? However, if we alt tab and we play as the client here and we do that, watch what happens. It says client 1 hello. See it? I need to take that out. Hold on. Let's reduce this back down to 2 seconds. That's 10 seconds is way too long. Okay. Once again, when the server does it, it says server. See? Server hello. And then when we alt tab over here and play as a client, when he does it, it says client hello. Now, what did we say? Clients can't do anything. So, if you left it this way and you hooked up some logic right here, the client ain't going to be able to do it. It won't work. It literally won't work. So, to get the server to do it, that's where we created this custom event. So now the client is asking the server to do this, which is simply printing this string out, but it could be any logic. It doesn't matter. If you're scripting in shooting a gun, for example. So now when we go back and conduct this test again, when the server does it, it's going to be exactly the same as it was. See? Server, hello. But now when the client does that, watch what it says. Server, hello, which means the client is not doing this. The client's asking the server to do it, and the server is executing it. See there? So to do a multicast, we go one step further, which is why we created this custom event right here. which is the same thing. It's just set to multicast. So in order to get something to multicast, the server has to do it. So that's why we do this. See this? So now we'll run back through this. The client is asking the server to do this. In this case, the server is going to multicast the print string. So the server calls the multicast, which fires this, which multicasts. Now watch what happens. So when the server does it, it's going to say server and client. Ready? Wait for it. Voila. See there? That means it's executing on the server and the client and all the clients. And now when the client does it, same thing. It's executing on the server and the client. How do we know that? Because it says it, right? We press the button one time and it says server and client. See? So back to the question that was talked about. Why rep notifies functions got called on the server as well? Well, I'm going to show you why right here. So we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call this do this. And we're going to set this to be a rep notify. Now, when you create a variable, it doesn't matter if it's a Boolean, an integer, a float, it doesn't matter. The moment that you set it to be rep notify, it automatically creates a function right here, automatically. So what exactly does that do? Well, I'm going to show you what it does. Okay. So we're going to start back at the beginning again. And we're going to set this. When we press this right mouse button, we're going to set this to be true. When we release the mouse button, we're going to set this to be false. And we're going to monitor. We're going to monitor the status of this variable. So let's get this, and we're going to do this. And we're going to just print this out, right? So we're going to plug that in here. Okay. All right. Now, when we do that as the server, let's see what happens. So when we mash it, the server set that value to true. When we release it, the server set that value back to false. See that? Mash it, server set it true, release it, server set it false. When we alt tab as a client, we mash it, the client set it to true, and we release it, the client set it back to false. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the server has no fucking idea that that variable's value changed. That's exactly what that means. Okay. And on top of that, if we go into the rep notify that it creates and we do another print string in here, and we will set this one to be red, right? Let's see what this does, right? So once again, this should tell you whether this fired on the server or the client. Okay. So let's go back in here now and we'll try that again, right? So when I press it as the server, you can see that the server set it on the server and the client. Do you guys see that? Let me take out this other print string, okay? Let's put this back in here and we'll just have it print that. And let's go back in here so we don't get confused, right? Let's take this part out. Okay. So now when the server mashes it, you can see that the server changed that value on the server and the client, meaning it multicasts that value changed. See there? And remember, that's the one that's happening inside that rep notify. See it? Clear as day. When you mash it as the server, it changes it on the server and the client. However, if we come over here as a client and we do the same thing, you can see that it's only changing it true on the client. And when we release it, it's only changing it true on or false on the client, meaning the server has no idea that happened, right? So the proper way to do this is that, remember, the clients can't do nothing. So how are we supposed to change this value? Well, the way that we're supposed to change this value is that the server is the one that has to change the value. So we're going to make our own little flip-flop here. So we're going to hold down the B key and make a branch. We'll make a little toggle here. So if this is true, we're going to set it false. And if it's false, we're going to set it true. See how we did that? See what we just did there? So what's different? Well, what's different is now the client is asking the server to change this value, which then when this value changes, it causes this rep notify to happen. See this? Every time that variable goes from one status to the other, it will fire this function. And we want to know what happens, right? So we come back in here, and as the server, when we mash it, it changes it from false to true on the client and the server. And when we mash it again, it changes it on the server and the client back to false. And now when we do it as a client, it changes it on the client and the server from false to true. And when we mash it again, it changes it on the server and the client back to false, which means this, when you do it this way, the server is the one that's changing the value. When you do it that way, it causes this function to fire, which then changes that value on the server and on the client. Is that right? No. That's not right. What happens is, to be more proper, what happens is when the server changes this value, it causes whatever you put in this function to be multicast. That's what it does. Is that better? Right? So technically the value is not being changed on the server and the client. What's actually happening is the server is changing that variable from true to false. And when it changes, when the server changes that value from true to false, it automatically fires on rep do this, which when that fires, whatever is contained in here is happening on the server and the client. So if you were to make this, say spawn a particle effect, for example, what would happen is it would happen on the server and the client. That's what would happen. So back to this question that this person asked on the forum, why rep notify functions is got called on server as well. It's because it's supposed to. Okay? On rep notifies are supposed to be changed by the server. Clients are not supposed to be changing variables. Okay? Servers are. And in a rep notify, when the server changes that value of that, it causes whatever happens in the rep notify function that it creates, it causes that to happen on the server and the client. How about that shit? Who knew? I did. Actually, I already knew the answer to this riddle before we actually ever even done this experiment, but I wanted to do this experiment to show you guys that there is a method to the madness. You can figure out who said what to who, and you can figure it out with a simple print string, right? Because it tells you right in front of the text who said it and where it was said, right? Let me show you guys what I mean. Okay, so if we put a print string right here, this will only happen on the server, right? So let me show you guys, just to be clear here. So when we come in here, and as the server, we hit that right mouse button. You see the one that's not red? See how it says server? That means that is only happening on the server. However, when the server is doing it, it's causing that rep notify to fire on the client and the server. And if we alt tab over here as a client, same thing. The client's asking the server to change that value. The server is changing that value, and the rep notify is being executed on the server and the client. See? It ain't rocket surgery, guys. Yeah, actually it is. You guys have no fucking idea how long it took me to self-teach myself all this craziness that happens in this engine when it comes to multiplayer. You guys have no idea. It took a long goddamn time, I'll tell you. It really did. Okay, so now I said that's a multicast, right? Didn't I? This is essentially the same thing. Well, no, technically I guess it's not the same thing. I mean, we should probably carry this experiment on out even further, right? And instead of doing a print string, we should do this with like a particle effect, okay? So why don't we do that? Let's like really dig into this and get to the root and the crux of the matter. Once again, it's one thing to watch somebody just click up a bunch of buttons. It's a completely different thing to understand why you're clicking those buttons. And that's what I do in my tutorials on Udemy. You guys don't just watch me click a bunch of buttons in those tutorials. We literally understand why we have to do things a specific way. Not just, okay, well, here's how you do this. It's, we got to do it this way because this has to be something that everybody in the game can see, which means it needs to be done multicast. If it's something that only the server needs to do, well, we only do it on the server, right? And it's to help you guys understand why certain things are done on the server, certain things are done multicast, certain things need to be done by rep notify, and certain things can be run on the owning client, right? That's why. All right, so anyway, let's quit rattling and let's do something. So let's add a feature or content pack. And let's just put in the stupid starter content, okay? That's something easy to get to. And the reason is because we got some particles in here, right? So we got an explosion as an example. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to replace our print strings with some actual particle effects. Okay. So, okay, well, we're going to go back to the beginning. So let's unhook this. And we're going to spawn emitter attached. Okay, we'll spawn emitter attached. This will be cool, right? So we're going to, when we press our right mouse button, we're going to make the character explode. We're going to attach it to the mesh of the character. And we will attach it to his pelvis bone. And we will say snap to target, keep world scale. Okay? And now we will commence to understanding who has to do what and why. Okay? So hang in there, guys. This is long-winded, but this is solid gold here. Tutorials don't show you how to understand why things are done. So, as the server, when we hit that right mouse button, theoretically, it should play that explosion. And, as you can see, it does. But, if you look in the other window, the client has no idea that we're exploding. See? You don't see it. And if we take the client and we do it, the client sees it, but the server has no idea that we're exploding. See that? So, once again, clients can't do anything. So, what do? Well, we go back to the server. The client has to ask the server to do this. Okay? And we're going to bring this up here. And we're going to have the server do it. And let's see what the effect is. Okay, so compile and save. And now let's go back and do it again. So when the server does it, same thing. The client has no idea that we're exploding. However, if we take the client and we do it, now the client can't see himself explode. See, I don't see it on the right screen, but the server sees it just fine. See that? So, we need this to be multicast. So what do we do to multicast that? Well, we go one step further, right? So now what we have to do is have the server multicast that explosion. See? Compile it and save it. And now let's go see what happens. So when the server does it, hey, look at that. The server sees it on his screen and the client can now see it. See? And if we take the client and we do that, the client can see it on his screen and the server sees it looking right at him. So once again, there's another example of why it matters who says what, who did what. That's an example as to why. So when you need to multicast something, if you're doing it with a button press, it has to go this way. You create yourself a custom event and you set it to be run on the server. Then you create yourself another custom event and you have it set to be multicast and you have the server call said multicast event. See that? And by doing that, that displays it on the server and the client, and all the people in the game will see that explosion. Technically, if you're in range of seeing the explosion. Okay? All right, so now back to the question this guy had on the forums. Why rep notify functions is got called on server as well? It's because it's supposed to. So now let's take this exploration that we just did and let's do it in the rep notify method. Okay, so let's unhook this that we put in that rep notify. Remember, when you create a variable and you set it to be rep notify, it automatically creates a function. See that? So let's see about that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the beginning. And we're going to do this here. So when we mash the button, if it's true, we're going to set it false. And if it's false, we're going to set it true. And we're going to take this here and we're going to cut it with Control X. And we're going to put that in this rep notify. Control V. We're going to paste it in here. So now let's see, let's talk about this for a second. So once again, in multiplayer, this is the client doing this on the client machines. And if you're playing as the server, that's the server doing it. So when this changes, this value, it automatically fires on rep do this, which in this case is going to make that explosion particle play. So let's see what happens when we do this, right? So as the server, when I mash that right mouse button, hey, look at that. I see it on my screen and that person looking at me, he sees it. However, if we play as the client and I mash that button, I see it, but the server does not see it. Now, why is that? Well, it is because of what I told you guys earlier. With a rep notify, the server has to be the one to change this value. So what does that mean? That means that the server, the client, asks the server right here to change the value of that variable. And when the server changes the value of this variable, it causes onRep do this to fire this function. So now this should work exactly like a multicast, meaning when the server does it, it is displayed on the server screen and all the clients would see it. And when the client does it, it will be displayed on the client's screen and everyone else sees it, including the server. See? So back to this question that was on the forum here. Why rep notifies functions is got called on server as well? It's because it's supposed to. That is exactly the way that it's supposed to work. When the server changes the value of a rep notify, it causes that function to fire, which then changes that value on the server and all the clients. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of that? Like, why would you use a rep notify instead of just doing a multicast? Well, I'm going to explain to you guys why. Okay. So remember when we did this as a multicast, it worked exactly the same as the way that we're doing it with this rep notify. The difference is when we did it with a multicast, we didn't have to change any variable, right? Remember, we didn't have to change it. But when we did change it with a variable as a rep notify, it still multicasts whatever you put inside this on rep notify. Like if we was to spawn this particle and also play a sound effect, it would be multicast. And the reason that you might want to do this with a variable is because the way multicast works, you have to be present to see it. So maybe I could give you guys a better explanation if we go look at one of the products that I sell on the Unreal Engine Marketplace, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do exactly that. Just so you guys understand exactly the difference. See, because here's the thing. Now, people that watch this video, they're going to automatically assume that, okay, so if you want something to be multicast, there's two ways that you can do it. One way is to do it with a multicast custom event, and the other way is you create yourself a variable, set it to rep notify, and then put what you want in the multicast inside the on rep notify for the variable that you created. Those are not to be used the same way. And I'm going to show you guys why and what the difference is. Why would you want something to be multicast versus why would you want something to be done with a rep notify? Okay, so we're going to talk about it. So this TPS basic that I sell on the marketplace for $20, this product that I created for sale, we're going to, okay, let's just go ahead and do an Engine 5. We can't use Unreal Engine 4.15 anymore because people think I'm an idiot and don't know how to do stuff in Unreal Engine 5. Even though Unreal Engine 4 is far more efficient, right? And I want to prove that to you guys too before this stream ends. For those of you that saw the rant where we were doing the event begin play stuff, I want to show you guys the difference in the older engine versions. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to open up this fine, fabulous product that I have. And if you don't own this, you ought to, because this is a kick-ass third-person shooter template with some AI that's pretty fantabulous. I think it is, but hey, I'm biased. I build it, right? So naturally, I think it's best. Okay, so we're going to open up us a map here. And we're going to load this region. Get in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag in one of these snazzy turrets that come in this project. If I can remember where they're at, right? Like, where is it? Who built this? What is my name again? How do we do this? There should be a turret blueprint in here. Oh, looky there. Looky there. So let's go ahead and rotate this thing. And you know, honestly, I don't really care if this thing even shoots. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Okay, so all we need to do is spawn in here and get one of these BFGs here so we can blow this thing up. Now, can I blow this thing up? I don't know. Let's see. So, as you can see here, so the way this turret works is when you set it up correctly, right? Like I just drug this in here because I wanted to show you guys something. So obviously these turrets shoot at you, right? So let me just go up here and show you guys what this thing is actually supposed to do. See? So that's actually what the damn thing does. But I've got this one basically disabled to be a target dummy. So what happens is this thing has a health value. And when you shoot it enough, it blows up, makes a sound, it goes, and then it plays an explosion particle. And then after that, it's on fire burning with smoke coming off of it and playing a sound for it burning. So I want you guys to see that, okay? So watch and pay close attention to that. Actually, I got to get a bigger gun because we'll be here for days trying to get that thing to blow up. All right, now pay attention and listen for all that. Okay, so there you have it. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions here. So, I was here whenever this thing blew up and caught on fire. I was standing right here. In fact, I'm the guy that did that. I shot it and blew it up. What happens if somebody was to join this multiplayer game right now? And I already blew this turret up. when they join and come over here and look at this turret, they need to see a couple things. One is they need to see it burning. They need to see that smoke coming off of it. And they need to hear that crackling sound. They wasn't here for the initial explosion of it blowing up for the first time. So if I was to have scripted this in such a way that all I did was multicast that explosion particle, the explosion sound, the turret being on fire, and the smoke coming off of it, and the sound of the fire burning, if I was to have simply multicast that, everybody that joins after that happens would not see that turret sitting there burning and smoking and that sound of it burning playing. They wouldn't see it. All they would see is a turret sitting there that don't work for some apparent reason. Why? Because if I'd have done it on a simple multicast, there would be no way for them to know that took place and that blew up and it was burning. They wouldn't know. If I done all of that on a rep notify, right? This is the explanation as to why you would want something to be multicast versus why you would want to do it with a rep notified variable. So pay close attention here. This is solid gold information. So if I'd have done all that with a rep notify, meaning, let's say I created a Boolean variable called is exploded. And when the health of that turret reached 0, I had the server change that is blew up, is destroyed Boolean variable from false to true. Then if I'd have went inside the onRep notify and I'd have put in the explosion sound, the explosion particle, the fire burning particle, the fire burning sound, when that server changed that variable from false to true, it would do all that. And it would do exactly what it's doing right now. And then what would happen is when somebody, like say somebody joined right now, and they landed right in front of this turret standing right here beside me, the moment that they joined the game, that turret would blow up, play the blow up sound, catch on fire, and play the fire burning sound all immediately as soon as he joined in. Right? So, that would be weird. It would be weird. Because nobody would be shooting it. He would just join in and then all of a sudden, well, who the hell blew that turret up? I didn't see nobody shooting that turret, right? So how do you do things like that? Well, in this scenario that we're staring at right here, the way that I did this, the way that this project is built, is part of what happens to this turret is done with a multicast, and another part of what happens to this turret is done with a rep notify. So let me break it down to you on how this works. So when we are shooting the turret, when it initially explodes, that part is done with a simple multicast event. Because if you're not here the moment that it explodes, you don't need to know that it exploded. The other part of it lighting on fire and smoking and playing the sound of it is done with a rep notify. Meaning, when people join after it initially exploded, people join after that, what they're going to see is the turret sitting here burning with the smoke coming off of it and it playing that sound effect of it being on fire. So this turret had to be done for multiplayer with two features of multiplayer. Part had to be done with a rep notify and another part was done with a simple multicast. Okay? So that is the difference between why don't you just use multicast, or why don't you just use rep notify? It's because in some multiplayer, you do things with multicast only some things you do with rep notify only, and some things you have to combine a multicast and a rep notify together in order to get it to function correctly for the entire game, right? Same with these doors over here, right? So check this out. When I walk up to this door opens and it plays a sound effect. Ready? Listen. And it opens. So that's another scenario where part of that had to be done with multicast and part of that had to be done with rep notify, right? Because if someone was to join the game right now, like right this minute, all they would need to see is that that door is open. However, people that are here when I walk up to that door, they need to hear the door opening. They need to see the door opening. But the people that were not here the moment that the door opened, they don't need to know that the door opened. All they need to see is that the door is open. So that's another scenario where part of the logic for that door had to be done with a multicast, and another part of that door had to be done with rep notify. So think of rep notify as this. If there is something that people that join after something already happened, and they need to know what the status of that particular object is, that is a scenario that you would use a rep notify. Because automatically when they join, the server looks at the value of that variable, and if it's not the same as the value that is currently in the level, it automatically will update their version of that variable to be the same as what is currently in the game. Okay? So that is the difference. And that should make a whole lot of sense as to why some things you do multicast and some things you would want to do rep notify. So voila, that turned into a big ginormous rant. Didn't it? Didn't it? Yes, it did. Okay. So let me bring Chad over here, by the way. I do have Chad open. Sorry I've been rambling for so long, but sometimes I get carried away with this stuff. So hello, Oni, and thank you once again for the condolences. I do not know how to say the name of this person, but there is not a game. That's just me screwing around with some stuff. If you had name for this game, it's not a game. It's just me screwing around. Sam, I like your southern accent. Well, thank you. Yeehaw. Well, yee damn haw is right. Barbecue and biscuits. No, I don't eat barbecue and biscuits. Actually, those two things I wouldn't think would go together, but hey, you know, if that's what you like, have at it. All right. So the last rant that I want to talk about in this little rant was the people that gave me shit about still using the old engine versions, right? Do you guys remember in this one right here, we did an experiment. Like if you guys didn't see that part of the video, I suggest you go back. And we were talking about latency, and that I proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a latency issue in all the engine versions beyond my favorite. And we did that with the this event begin play. You guys that were here and present for this, you remember. Think back. Remember when we put that print string in here and I told you guys that it should work the same as a multicast. You guys remember that? Actually, you know what? Let's just go back and we will redo this. Okay? So, what we're going to do is unhook this. And we're going to unhook this. And we're going to bring this over here. So let's bring all this back over here and we'll run through this one more time. For all you guys that call me an idiot. Okay. Okay. And what the hell did I do with the print string? Holy crap. I deleted it. We'll never find it again. So let's put back in our print string. We're going to come out of this. And we're going to do this, and we're going to have it say hello. So you guys remember at the beginning of this rant where I talked about that these events that are built into the engine work like a multicast, right? Remember? So let's go ahead and spawn in here and we'll run through this one more time. Actually, yeah, that's right. Let me do that one more time. Yeah. So you can see that with 2 players, that happens on the server and the client on both players. See that? That's the whole point of what we just did. See? Server, server, client, client. And then I told you guys that the proper way to do this is to put this switch as authority to filter out the client call. And that if you want this to be multicast, it's supposed to go to the server event right here. The server event calls the multicast right here. And the multicast does the print string right here. Remember that? And then we compile that and save it, and we spawn in here. And remember, it wasn't happening on the client. Remember? See? No client calls happened. None. So we had to put this delay in here. Remember this? We put this delay right here. A full 2-second delay, by the way. And we had to do that in order to get that to work like a multicast. Wait for it. There it is. Client and server. And it happened on both. We'll do it one more time. There it went. See that? And I told you guys it's because these newer engine versions suck compared to the older ones when it comes to performance. Remember me saying that? I just proved it right here that this one requires a delay to get this to function the way that it's supposed to. Now, what I want to do is show you guys in Unreal Engine 4.15, that's not a thing. So we're going to create the same third-person template in Unreal Engine 4.15, or 4.15.3 to be exact. And that doesn't exist. That latency that exists there does not exist in this engine. Believe me or not. Third person. Hello, Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man. I'll also show you some other stuff that you guys might find baffling. Okay, so we're going to set this up for 2 players, same as that one. 720 by 512. Always center windows unchecked. 2 players. And new editor windows. Oh, whoa, holy crap, what the crap did I just do? Don't mash that button, holy shit. Server's on the left screen, client's on the right screen. Now we're going to open up that third-person blueprint. And we're going to put in an event begin play. Same as the other. We're going to do the has authority. Switch has authority. And we're going to do the print string. We're going to create a custom event. Server. Do this. And that is going to be set to run on the server. And we're going to create another custom event. And it's going to be called multicast. Do this, and that is going to be set to multicast. server will call multicast. Do this. All right. So we're going to go all the way to the beginning. These events are just like a multicast. Print, play. Now look, client, client, server, server. You guys see it? It. And I told you guys the proper way to do this is to go from here, filter out that a client call, have the server, have this go to the server, do this, which calls this, which multicasts it, which prints it here. Notice we do not have a delay. And we hit play. Check it out. Oh, wait a minute. Holy crap, it does exist. You gotta be shitting me. It does exist. Oh my God. Have we got these set right? So that's run on server. Yep. Which calls multicast. That is set to multicast. It is. And it's doing the print string. Well, I guess it does exist. That's a new one on me. Maybe it's my computer, right? Like it could be. Maybe I got a virus. Maybe the CCP's hacked my computer. No, that ain't what it is. I guess it's the same. I could have swore, which maybe I'm wrong, but I could have swore that, yeah. So see, if I put that same delay back in here again, it'll be the exact same, but I could have swore that that was not the case. But hey, I've been wrong a time or 10, right? I don't care to be wrong. This helps expand my knowledge, but I could have swore I didn't have to do that before. See? And now it's working the same as it does in the other engine. Okay, whatever. Whatever. So all that big long rant that I just made, never mind. Wow, that was a big long rant about nothing. But anyway, whatever. That's also a good, you know, demonstration, but yeah, it's not the same. I could have swore that we didn't have to do that, but I guess we do. All right, well, now that that turned out to be incorrect, that's actually pretty funny, really. All right, let me go in here and clean this up. Okay, so I can get rid of that, that, and that. I don't need any of those. All right, guys, I think I'm about ready to wrap it up now. I hope you guys found this stream knowledgeable, right? Even though that was wrong, that doesn't mean everything else I said was wrong. I just misremembered that that was an issue, but I guess it is an issue. Yeah, so that's all the updates I have. That's all the information I have for this stream. So I hope to get that new Udemy course done by the end of March, but it may not be, right? So you guys will just have to bear with me, those that have been asking. I got, what did I say, 15 videos made and uploaded, so there's going to be about 20, so I got, what, 5 more videos to make to try to squeeze in as much as I can, because I don't want it to be as long as that other course. So with that, guys, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me on a Sunday, and so I'll let you guys know when that's ready. So you guys take care. If you guys found this stream interesting, entertaining, or not, there's a PayPal link on my YouTube page in the banner. I would appreciate any contributions that you guys could send. As a thank you, if you guys want to. My channel's not monetized, meaning I don't have ads or any of that crap. And I intend to keep it that way because I find ads annoying as shit. I also don't want to be sponsored by people and try to hawk off a bunch of, you know, Sunday this and meat box that and all this other garbage that people try to sell you. I don't want to try to sell you hats and t-shirts and stuff. So instead, if you guys would like to send me a cup of coffee through the PayPal, feel free to do so. So with that, you guys take care. This is John Galt, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one, fellows. And fellettes. There's ladies around here sometimes, and I always get shit for not saying that. So you guys take care, and we will see you in the next one.